I assume we had nobody else on the visitor citizens forum? Okay. We will move on to agenda item number 4, public recognition. Do we have anything, guys? All right. Good on that. Employee recognition, David?
This week is Telecommunicators Week, so we have 2 dispatchers that run the Devine Police Department during daytime, as well as we receive assistance from Medina County Sheriff's Office after hours. So I'd like to give them a shout out and give them kudos, tell them that we appreciate all that they do. They are the first line of defense when we receive the calls to dispatch the first responders, so we appreciate them.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, agenda item number 6, consider the approval of council minutes for the regular meeting of March 18th, 2025, and the special meeting and emergency meeting on March 24th, 2025. Council, any comments? Debbie, I always look at you first because you're always right on top of that.
I didn't see anything. Oh, sorry.
All right.
I didn't see anything this time. Oh, obviously I missed something.
Well, it was just maybe lacked one detail on it was 14th order of business. It identified David as the primary for the water board representative and didn't identify Hal Lansing incoming alderman as the backup.
That would have been the next item. The next item was for coffee backup.
Okay, well maybe I overlooked that. Okay.
Because it was on 2 separate agenda items.
Right.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
All right, anything else on the minutes? Okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes for the regular meeting March 18th and the special meeting and emergency meeting for March 24th.
Okay, we have a motion from Debbie to approve the minutes of the last 2 meetings.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second from Josh. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Okay. At this time, we will have agenda item number 7, presentation by the Cybersecurity team of the University of Texas at Austin regarding the proposed cyber incident response policy. Hello, everyone, and thanks for coming back again.
I'll speak.
Okay, David, you got it.
Yes, sir. Well, Mayor, Council, I was notified by Texas State University and to ask if they could do a cyber security clinic in conjunction with the City of Devine. We sent the paperwork to Tom, let him review it, and we agreed to allow them to come down. So this is our cybersecurity team. They came and they met with us. We've had numerous meetings online for them to get a better understanding of our cybersecurity platform and posture. And then we met with Jane, of course, and Jerry, who is our actual cybersecurity contractors. We put a caveat out there that they were not given any top secret information and no access to any secret files or anything like that. So the presentation that they're going to give is going to be a incident action plan in the event that we were to be hacked or taken over. So if y'all would like to proceed, thank you very much.
Well, hi everyone. Thank you for having us today. We're excited to present our work with the Devine of Texas through the Texas Cybersecurity Clinic at UT Austin. Over the course of this past semester, our team has assessed Devine's cybersecurity posture and have developed practical recommendations tailored to your guys' local government operations and needs. I'm Saloni. This is Ritu, Isabel, and Minji. And to get started, So brief on the Cybersecurity Clinic, our mission is to support smaller Texas-based organizations and local governments in strengthening your guys' cyber defenses. So our goal is to ensure that your community achieves a substantially improved defensive posture. And for Devine, we focused on these 3 main areas, which were revising and enforcing cybersecurity policies, providing employee awareness training, and identifying critical assets and systems that need protection. Your guys' top concern they expressed to us included theft of information and the increase in cybersecurity threats, which are both highly relevant in today's digital environment. And so when we began our assessment in the beginning of the semester, Devine had already had a decent baseline for cyber resilience. However, we identified some key areas for improvement, such as a lack of incident preparedness, no formal incident response plan, and unclear processes around cybersecurity responsibilities. These gaps could ultimately lead to serious consequences like a lack of system redundancy or even a loss of access across or to critical IT infrastructure if not addressed appropriately.
For the overview, our timeline was from January and it's continuing to the end of April. We so far analyzed Devine security posture, evaluated operations regarding cybersecurity practices, and we're currently collaborating with the IT contractors. And we decided on 2 deliverables, first being the documentation and policies focusing on the incident response plan and complemented by the tabletop exercises and clear outline of the cyber-related operations and response. Second will be the implementation of RSOC that we'll get into, with services being DoorBot and CredMaster. The IT team already has a great foundation of cybersecurity practices in place, which includes an updated asset inventory, which all the current intellectual and physical property for Devine Texas employees, which will be critical in case of an incident to see which properties might be affected. Second being the continuous applied security training, where employees will learn how to avoid and prevent any social engineering tactics through learning modules, then being tested on it to make sure they thoroughly understand the topic. Patch management to avoid vulnerabilities in old or unsupported software systems. Continuous monitoring alert by real people to making sure that those alerts and flags are reviewed properly. Endpoint detection and response systems that aid malware and ransomware protection, and existing preventive cybersecurity measures, including firewall configuration and monitoring, and antivirus deployment and maintenance. These measures help reduce the likelihood of cyber threats targeting the city of Devine by creating additional layers of defense and deterrence.
Hi, so to kick us off with our project, the first part of it is the IRP, which is an incident response plan. And what that is basically just an emergency plan that would help Devine quickly deal with and recover from a cybersecurity incident if it were to happen. Currently, Devine Texas does have an IT policy, but not a dedicated incident response plan, which is why we would like to implement that. The existing IT policy is also not very clear on the exact roles and the escalation process, and the current documentation is also slightly difficult to refer to in case a security event were to happen. So what we hope to achieve with this incident response plan is a document with detailed information of actions to take during a cybersecurity incident. This might include something like a notification calling tree, which would pretty much outline exactly who should be contacted and in what order in case of an event, as well as outlining the critical systems and the order of priority of these systems. It would also clearly define escalation and the roles with points of contact of who to contact in case of an event, as well as a detailed outline of a response to the public and key stakeholders in case of an incident. And the value that this would create for the city of Devine would be cost avoidance from being prepared for these incidents, as well as a reduction in downtime and service disruption if something were to happen, just to get things going a lot faster, as well as minimize damage and financial loss from a result of an event. And it would also help to maintain the public trust and the reputation of the city. Hello. For the next part of our project, we have tabletop exercises, which consist of realistic cyber incident scenarios for participants to navigate. So a few of the issues we touch on include ransomware, phishing, and data theft of personal identifiable information. So the overall goal of these tabletop exercises are to help participants understand their role in a cyber incident, as well as to help them become more acquainted with the incident response plan to help them inform their decision making throughout. So this type of training helps identify any gaps and areas for improvement with incident response, as well as enhance overall employee employee confidence with navigating these types of scenarios. Additionally, these exercises are more cost effective as they don't include any overhead costs with like software licenses or anything like that. We've also included a contact from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency who can help facilitate these tabletop exercises free of cost to the City of Devine. So the way that these exercises are structured is that there are 3 phases of escalation. So in the first phase, we have initial discovery, where you're learning more about the incident and you're identifying and notifying key leads using the notification column tree outlined in the incident response plan. And you're also making sure you have any resources that you need for incident response available. So in the second phase of the exercise, we have ongoing containment and analysis, and here you're going to be implementing the containment strategy outlined in the plan to help make sure that the incident doesn't spread, and making sure you have a clear line of communication between key stakeholders to make sure they're remaining updated. Here you're also deciding how you're going to go about informing the public of the incident and how much needs to be relayed to them at that point in time. And for the last phase, we have a catastrophic loss scenario. If things worsen, you're going to learn how to activate the disaster recovery plan outlined in the IRP and how to escalate response, as well as notify external stakeholders outlined in the plan.
For our second part of our project was the RSOC. UT RSOC is the second regional security operations center that's been operating since 2010. And we have been supporting around 1,700 entities, Texas entities from organized crime groups, nation-state actors, hacktivists, etc. For the RSOC services, we have first the DORC bot, which detects and verifies critical web app security vulnerabilities for Devine employees. So far, it's 100% accurate and fully automated. Second being the Credmaster, it monitors dark web environments for stolen credentials, and collected credentials are verified for accuracy. And so far, it's also 100% accurate and fully automated. And reports will be sent out with any caught incidents. Next. With the RSOC implementation, we will be avoiding any costly breaches, minimizing emergency response spending. We'll also reduce downtime and service disruptions by real-time threat monitoring for faster containment, keeping city services online. We also strengthen cyber resilience through automated tools with the 2 services, identifying vulnerabilities and leaked credentials. And we also increase public trust, which reflect a forward-thinking strategy regarding our cybersecurity that, again, building public trust and promoting accountability for the city.
Okay, so some of our next steps for Devine include the IRP approval process. So we're currently still working on the plan, but we plan to present the finalized IRP to city leadership so they can review it and sign off on it, and it can be integrated into official city policy and operations. We're also working on staff onboarding for RSOC alerts. So we're going to be identifying the personnel that are responsible for handling these alerts and onboarding them to notify them on how to use these tools. We're also going to be establishing internal communication procedures for handling RSOC notifications and next steps for that. We also have the annual update schedule for the IRP and tabletop exercises. So the IRP will be reviewed and revised annually to reflect any incidents or changes in organizational structure. And tabletop exercises, we plan to have them at least once a year to validate employee preparedness, and we also plan to help the city maintain a revision log to track any updates and approvals of the IRP.
Yeah, so thank you so much for listening to us, and we had a great time working with the City of Devine and David specifically. Thank you so much for helping us out, and we hope to work with you in the future, but we'll open it up to questions now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh?
Josh? Good. Sounds good to me.
Come on, Josh. Come on now.
I don't know, very vanilla.
Very standard.
We're going to dig a little bit deeper before I ask any major questions, but we'll see what the policy looks like.
Yeah, we kept it vanilla. like I said, we did work in conjunction with James IT and Jerry, and we all met online, and they talked their cyber geek stuff that I didn't understand. But anyway, this is something that definitely will help us implement in our policy that we did not have. So if we had to pay for it in the civilian sector, it costs us a couple $1,000s. So. Cool. Got the geniuses here that's getting ready to graduate in their respective field of cyber. So had a great time with y'all as well. Learned a lot, and appreciate y'all's patience on times I couldn't jump on when I said I was going to be on, that kind of stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Clearly in this day and age, we got to be prepared for these kind of things. It's craziness out there, just plain crazy. I'm old school and I don't understand all. Like when this guy starts talking over here, I'm like, okay. But anyway, I think it's great that we keep on top of these things, and once again, appreciate you all coming down and doing that. I don't know how we proceed from here. I mean, what's that going to entail?
Nothing. They'll come back with a policy and we can review it. They'll come back with the official.
Yeah, some recommendations and stuff, right?
We'll review it. I'll have James here at that time to let the council know, reassure y'all that he's reviewed it, Jerry's reviewed it. It's legitimate and it would be good for the city before you proceed.
Awesome. I look forward to it. So.
This is awesome. Thanks, ladies.
Let's play the UT song right now.
Yeah, you wearing that?
Look at you sucking up with your shirt over there, man.
Yeah, anything.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks again, ladies.
Be safe going back.
Drive careful back.
Bye.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 8. Consider and act upon accepting the results of the salary study by Robert Culpepper with JER HR Group. David's got you on here. So we have the final, they had to go back and revise some things, correct?
Yes, so we have administrative snafu is what I call it. So with the data through one of the software programs. So we went back to Mr. Culpepper and sent the information. And now we have an updated, revised version. Can you hear me, Mr. Culpepper?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, great. Yes, sir. Go for it.
They did a test run today.
Are you seeing the slides that I'm sharing right now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay. Thank you for having me back. I'm glad to be able to present this to you today. We did make some updates, some pay and some job changes needed to be made, and we did that. And while we were doing that, we also took a look at what impact that had on the comparisons and made some changes. And I'll discuss those as we go through the slides. So, of course, we've covered this stuff before. The project objective is to do a salary study to make sure that we set up a compensation plan that aligns and supports the goals of the city. The salaries are based on both the internal job requirements and the comparison to the external market, the regional employers. First phase was the internal evaluation of the jobs, the job ratings using our system. We rated 25 positions. We actually added a new position, which was the street foreman, and moved an individual into that classification. We did this all with the same measurement, which is our job evaluation salary administration program, and came up with the scores that you'll see on a future slide. We reviewed all these job ratings with David and Dora and made sure that everything looked good. And then we went ahead and by the way, here are the 15 factors. It's basically the 4 major compensable factors of the jobs: knowledge and skills, responsibilities, communication, I call it contacts and human relations, and efforts. So we rank the jobs, we rate the jobs in these 15 factors. It gives us a common measuring stick, and we get these ratings. These ratings do not change from the last time that you saw this. The only difference is we added street foreman, which came in with a rating of its own that was appropriate for that level of work. This is the plot of the salaries and the associated job values. You see that it's highly correlated, and there's a couple of outliers that we corrected that aren't on here anymore. But this is pretty much the same thing. This gives you the relationship between pay and the internal ranking, the job value that we came up with using the JSAT methodology. And phase 2 is what we call the market pay and benefit study, or actually it's market pay study. We didn't do a benefit study for City of Devine, or typo there. We completed a market pay survey of the following government comparators. We originally had 10 entities that were surveyed. We made a change after we made the updates to the pay and jobs. We noticed that the cities and counties that did not have as much, didn't have as many comparisons to the City of Devine jobs were skewing the data in an unusual way, where the average was going to be a positive number and in terms of variance, and the median number was a negative number. So we said, well, what's the difference between these counties and the City of Poteet that is different than the others? And that was that all the others matched at least about 60-70% of the jobs, whereas Frio County matched 2 jobs, City of Poteet matched just about 50%, and the other 2 counties matched 8 jobs apiece. So we said, okay, let's just tighten our scope and look at and compare the City of Devine to cities who match at least a majority of the jobs. So the cities you see here in black ink are the ones that were kept in the analysis. And of course, we used a measure of some third-party salary data, which was Salary.com's comp analyst, and it measures the general Devine, Texas employment market. We compared 24 jobs. Street calling wasn't part of that for the market study. And we analyzed the data and eliminated the bad matches and the outliers. The results of this are slightly different because some of the jobs and pay changed. And so these numbers are slightly different than what you saw before because of those corrections and updates. So it's slightly different in terms of the percentages. City of Devine still fits in the middle of the pack, even with or without the counties and one of the cities. So overall, the variance did change. The median is that middle number, which was the third-party data we got from Salary.com, which was negative 2.5. Negative meaning City of Devine is behind, and positive number meaning City of Devine is ahead of market. In this case, the City of Devine is slightly behind market when you look at the average of the cities that were in the data from Salary.com that was included. It's a negative 0.92%, which means you're right there, right in the middle of the pack. A standard budget of a certain percentage would keep you in line, keep you competitive. So the third phase of the project was the process of bringing it all together, taking the market data and the internal job ratings and putting them together to see what kind of pay range we would get with that. So we took the employee data, we took the market data, we took the job ratings, we did this analysis, and we came up with an overall set of pay ranges based off of that, but based off of that regression analysis. So we set this pay range, this set of pay ranges, these are the same pay ranges you saw last month. We saw that they fit just as good as the ones before, and we're recommending that again. And this will be the upper and lower limits for each of these job classifications. You have the job value points, and then you have the minimum, midpoint, and maximum, which creates the pay range around those points. The pay range position, as you saw, you have, think in terms of of a road, you got the side of the shoulders, and you got the middle line. You have the minimum, the midpoint, the maximum, but you can break that into quartiles where you have the bottom half of one side of the midpoint, close to the midpoint, slightly above the midpoint, way above the midpoint, and then everything on the very extreme ends is you're outside the pay range, you're either under min or over max. The good news is with this pay range setup, 62% of the employees are within the second and third quartile. They're either side of the midpoint. They're right there in the fast lane on either side of the midpoint of the pay range. Very few people are falling outside the pay range or at the very edges of the pay ranges. So there might be a little bit of adjustments that might need to be done for some people. The policy that we recommend is that you at least pay people at the minimum of the pay range at some point and maintain that as a going forward policy. So overall, our recommendations are to adopt the recommended pay structure. Overall, everything is competitive. Most employees are clustered around that pay range midpoint. You would want to, assuming there's not a performance issue or some other issue, you would want to bring people to the minimum pay range, and also take any individual pay increases on a case-by-case basis, because you got to look at where people are in the pay range and where they need to be relative to things such as how long they've been in the job, how long how many years of service, performance, whatever it might be, taken on a case-by-case basis. The comparators were averaging, that's the other cities, were averaging planned increases of about 3% to their pay ranges, their pay structures, and about 4% to their base pay. So their budgets are coming in around 4% for pay increases. So our recommendation is about 4%, 3 to 4% pay increase in pay range adjustment would be a move to maintain that competitiveness. And with that, I can take any questions that you have.
Well, let me get there.
It's pretty thorough.
Is it in one of the other attachments that shows specifically which positions are above and below? I didn't see it in that presentation.
Yeah, it's in the charts.
Like in the library clerk is, I think that's one of them. I don't think that was a job.
No, but I did some.
Okay.
The head librarian, the head librarian, animal control officer, and one of our utility buildings under the secretary, wastewater labor one. But I think, isn't he the foreman? I think that might be the one that they said they took out. I just don't remember.
The street foreman was actually...
Is there a composite on that? I have where the
I
comparative
didn't see that
cities.
just before we started.
Where's the
I sent a
composite?
correction.
I wasn't able to
And it's
look that
it's
up.
just on the number. Nothing affects the salaries or anything like that. But there's one less person that's outside the range as a result of that. So that was a typo on the slides. But there's only 2 people that
You don't have this on
or above maximum. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't. Who knows? So this, okay, is he referring to the main chart here?
So it made it a little more...
This just shows where we're at.
No, that's the structures according to the jobs, according to the job positions.
Okay, what does this 13 mean again?
Right, so that's like the maximum from there. The higher the number, the more responsibility for city admin.
That our guys are...
Okay.
In different areas. Here's the areas like experience, etc. Across the top. Here's the scale.
Oh, I see. So that's the importance of these things.
These things, right.
So, for example, street labor, who cares about experience?
Right.
Is that what it means?
You want to pay them more? Yeah, sure, but they're not getting ripped off.
So, as you're aware, the city council did increase the salaries from $17 to $20, excuse me, currently, if you were working. And then anybody new coming in, you started them at 17. as well as we've made a readjustment on the police department from $18 minimum to $25. So obviously that's done before this study was done, and that did help bring up the numbers to where we are to make it more competitive. Definitely helped with the police department because we've hired about 4 officers since then. Prior to that, they weren't looking in Devine, right? Yeah. So that's a good thing.
So is he recommending the midpoint?
It appears the job market's tightening up a little bit too, so.
He's recommending at least the minimum. He's recommending at least the minimum.
Oh, okay, well, you're above that. I think they're above that.
Unless there's anything else, I'll make a motion to accept the results of the study.
I'll second
Yeah, that's
that.
you there, isn't it?
Amen.
What do we have? You had a motion?
To accept it.
Oh, my golly, I'm still comprehending. Hang on. Okay. Please repeat that, Josh.
Unless there are further remarks and comments, I will make a motion that we accept the results of the study.
All right, we have a motion from Josh to accept the results of the study, second by Debbie. Any further discussion?
Will we discuss this further?
Yes, we will. Exactly. Okay, yeah. Very well done. Sure appreciate it. All in favor? All right, motion passes 5-0 to accept the study. Thank you very much, and I got a lot to consume here. I didn't have this in my email. For some reason, I couldn't get it to load up.
Yeah, it's weird. It won't be
Thank you, Mr. Cover. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now you can answer to the public when they complain about what we're paying people sometimes.
Well, and I think it's good to have those pay ranges in place. So that kind of helps things for the future.
Right.
With those regular 3% to 4% increases, then you have that. It's, right there for is public record.
Right.
Yeah, like it.
All right, outstanding. Moving on, agenda item number 9. Consider and act upon accepting the audit report / management letter by the city auditor, which is Armstrong, Vaughn and Associates. Welcome. You lost your audience.
That seems to always happen when they say, okay, now presentation for or time for presentation of the audit, everyone claps. Just that a little bit.
Before you even start, I just want to say thank you for such a well put together report.
Right.
Pictures to talk to us who can't speak numbers.
I remembered, I was like, guys, we need more graphs, we need more in the MD&A, and we're going to use some color. And so I even talked to David about, other things we can do, like adding pictures maybe next year on the report cover of different projects that y'all are doing. We're just going to look into it and see if we can make it look, nicer.
Will it be in crayon for me?
No, I don't think our printer prints in crayon, but we'll see. But okay. We've provided y'all tonight with a draft of the audit report, so it's still in a draft phase, so there's still time to make, if we have any additions or corrections or anything like that, but we do plan to finalize in April to keep y'all in compliance with the bond that y'all are going after, and then next year the target is to be finished by March 31st, so that way we're on time. I prepared a small PowerPoint so that way we don't have to go page by page with the audit. I know you guys don't want to sit through all of that, right? We'd be here all night. Starting with the PowerPoint, these are just the bullets on the table of contents. We'll be primarily focusing on things that are in the management discussion and analysis, which is the summaries and kind of statistical highlights of the audit. This next page on page 3 on your report, it would be page 1. This is the independent auditor's report. This is kind of the starting point and also the main point of the audit. The whole purpose of the audit is to form what is called an audit opinion. And the opinion that we gave is called an unmodified opinion. It's the best opinion that we can give on an audit. It means that there were no material misstatements on the audit, and that the financials, and that the financials are following GAAP. It's what any kind of lender's first page that they look at when they go to your audit report is, did you guys get the clean opinion? Did you get an unmodified opinion? And then they'll look at the numbers. So that's the first checkbox, and probably the most important part of the report. Okay. And we'll skip past this page. This is, again, just bullets on the management discussion and analysis, but it's kind of what we're going to go over tonight. So right here, I'm starting out with the government-wide financial statements. So I just need to point out really quickly that the city has two sets of financial statements being a government entity. You have the government-wide, which we'll get into, and the fund statements. The main difference is that one follows full accrual, which means you have your long-term assets and liabilities showing on those statements, and the fund statements are modified accrual. It's more in line with how the city presents its financials. It's on a current year, 1 year focus. The example I give is y'all do not make y'all's budget a 5-year budget. It's a yearly budget. You have your financials on a yearly basis. And so that's primarily we'll be focusing our discussion because it's more in line with what y'all are used to seeing on a monthly basis. So with the government financials, please go up. Yeah, a little down. Okay, so just a few bullet points on the government-wide financials. Again, these are the long-term statements. The assets exceeded the liabilities by $4.5 million, and your unrestricted net position is just another way to say equity or your residual from 1 year to the next, was $1.3 million, and your net position increased by $1.5 million for the year. And we'll see some more detail of that in a minute. Your business type activities, that's your water, sewer fund, utility fund. The assets exceeded the liabilities by $8.2 million, but of that, your unrestricted net position was only $102,000. And again, we'll kind of look at that and kind of make some extrapolations on what that would mean, because I know it may pertain to some of the topics that you guys discussed earlier before this meeting even started. Okay, but your net position did increase by $452,000, which on the surface sounds like a really good number. But again, we'll look at some of the detail in a minute. And just as a highlight, which y'all are well aware, you issued a new bond for $2.5 million this past fiscal year. Okay? Okay, the fund financial statements. So these are the short-term basis, what you guys usually see on a monthly basis. The general funds fund balance was $2.8 million at the end of the fiscal year 2024. The combined fund balance of all your funds together, excluding your water fund, is $3.4 million. And the unassigned fund balance, again, that's just another way to say equity, for the general fund was $2.8 million. So the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, they set best practices for cities, and they said that a city should have a certain amount of months of fund balance worth of expenditures. So if I took your total expenditures for the year, divided them by 12, divided that into fund balance, they used to say it should be at least 6 months. They've actually downgraded it, and I don't understand why, to 2 months, which just seems ridiculous that you should only have 2 months of savings. Yeah, so anywhere from 6 to 12 months is a really healthy fund balance, and when I did the math for y'all, you have 8.8 months. So you're in the good GFOA standard from old and new, right? And I just want to point out again, the city does have ARPA funds that are currently in unearned revenue and have yet to be spent. So you have $412,000 allocated in the general fund and $518,000 allocated to your water or wastewater utility fund. And y'all have until December 2026 to spend those funds, or else you have to give them back to the federal government.
Those funds have already been contractually allocated. Yes. Just for the record.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, the standard was you have to earmark them by, I think, something 2025, which you'll have, and then you have to physically spend them before December 2026, or regardless, you'll give them back, but y'all will spend it. This slide is just a snip from the financial statements themselves on the fund statements. It's just breaking down the various equities or fund balances for the city. And you can see there the unassigned in the general fund is $2.8 million. And then you can see how the other equities are broken down. All of your non-major funds are restricted for their purpose. Okay. This is another snip from the financial statements. In the back of the financial statements, we have a budget to actual. And so you'll see original budget, final budget, the bold column for 2024 actual, that variance with the final budget. And then the last column is 2023 actual to kind of give you a comparative idea. And so what I noticed right away was that the revenues of the city's general fund increased by $403,000 from last year. Primarily the increase was property taxes because the rate increased by $231,000. Your health and sanitation fees, which is the garbage collection, increased by $104,000. And you received an airport grant as well as an ISD grant, which represented a $106,000 increase. So together, that pretty much covers the $400,000 increase of revenue. Okay, staying with the general fund, we're just now looking at the expenditures. So overall, the expenditures actually decreased by quite a lot, by $952,000, but $793,000 of that is just capital related. You had a bunch of capital expenditures last year. You didn't have as many this year. So in comparison, it looks like you had this huge decrease in expenditures, but in reality, it's just y'all doing repairs, maintenance, buying things that you need capital-wise for like vehicles and such. But two expenditure areas did increase. The rest pretty much all decreased. Airport increased $57,000, but that was in conjunction with the grant you got for revenue, and that was for maintenance-related projects. And code enforcement, only $22,000, and that was for some sort of consulting fees for the year that didn't occur last year. But the rest of expenditures did decrease. Okay. Okay, so the water and wastewater utility fund. So I'm showing here the operating revenues and operating expenses. There is a few more lines on the actual financials, and this would be page 25, 26, 27 of the report. 25 being the end of the balance sheet, 26 being what I'm showing you now, and 27 being the cash flow statement. We did mention at the start of this that your unrestricted net position is only $102,000. So it's not a whole lot of wiggle room equity-wise if you guys have a loss in 1 year. But as you can see on the page, at the very bottom, you did have an operating income for the year of $264,000. And even after the transfers that you mentioned of $92,000 and other non-operating revenue like interest, you did end up with $452,000 in change of equity positively. However, we do have to consider the debt. And again, this would be why, a rate schedule and rate, evaluation of your rates for water is so important. And that's because you do have quite a bit of debt that you have to pay each year, and the next year is going to be $737,000, whereas in this fiscal year you paid $450,000, I believe, somewhere around that ballpark. And so if you consider the fact that you only have $100,000 in equity and your net income with all the extras and transfers is $452,000, it will mean that if rates don't change, likely what could happen, and I can't say for certain, but you're probably right insofar as the general fund would have to cover the cost of those types of expenditures. So if you go to the next slide, this shows the debt and kind of shows more of what I'm talking about. So the top one is the governmental activities. The bottom section is the business type activities, and business type is a little bit cut off. Okay, so next year's payment, which is the year that you're currently in, you'll pay $737,000, and in total you have $13.6 million. The total of all your debt, and this is including principal and interest, is $14,194,575. So as the debt does increase or is higher than the net income of the water fund, you may consider either getting a rate study or looking into other avenues, or the general fund will have to cover. Okay, this is the last slide. It's TMRS. This is the retirement system of the city. I like to show this slide because it gives a year after year comparison, and this is also in the report. What we're looking at here, I kind of broke it down by the 3 arrows on the side. This first arrow, this first section, is your liability, so what the city will actually owe theoretically in retirement. And for 2023, which is fiscal year 24, they have a calendar year end, is $9,006,890. The second section is essentially the assets of the city to combat the retirement liabilities, so your retirement investment earnings and things of that nature. And so that's the next arrow is the net investment income line, and that shows you the year after year unrealized gains and losses within the retirement pool of investments. And you can see last year you had a negative $413,000, and this year a positive $630,000. Every city, every district, even though districts have like TCDRS versus TMRS, it always looks like a roller coaster of ups and downs. And so what can we make of it with such large swings from one year to the next? The key percentage in this case to always look at is that third arrow. This is the percentage that you have of your assets to cover the liability, and you are right at 68.97% this year. So the GFOA also comes out with best practices for this percentage. The GFOA wants the city to strive for at least 70%. A lot of times with TMRS, it kind of forces cities to stay in the 80% range. So usually it does try for a course correction. You may have one of those soon where they're asking you to raise your retirement rates to get it at least above the 70%, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to hike y'all up even more to get even higher, because across the board they are in the 80s and 90% coverage. But 70% is still perfect. You're just basically right at the GFOA level, and so that's another good sign for the city. So in conclusion, the city has a healthy general fund balance. You have a positive fund balance in the water fund. You guys are taking the right steps in the right direction. You're hitting all the check boxes of the GFOA. Your financial statements are materially correct. Ms. Dora and Ms. Denise helped me very much on the audit with all the financial happenings, and were able to get us the documents timely. And so we gave you the unmodified opinion. And we put in pictures and color. It's that. But I'm open for questions. The last slide is just my contact information. It doesn't just end here. If you guys want to contact us at any point in time during the year, I'd be happy to answer any questions or help with any accounting or ideas that I can, as long as we keep independent. But
I normally do that from time to time, especially when we get closer to budget.
Right.
So the question, I don't know why you're at the first part of the meeting and started at 6, or did you come later?
I came in towards the end of it, but I think I got the idea. And I know what the city's going through.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if your information and your findings kind of correlate with that.
Well, without giving like a biased opinion, I can see that even though on the operating level you had that kind of positive balance,
that's why I said
but right, and page I think it's 27 of the report is the cash flow statement. I think this would summarize it pretty well. If you're on page 27, just looking at the bold letterings, the first one is operating activities. That's the cash given, $486,000. And that second set there, that negative $770, that's basically what you're getting out. And so you would have had a loss. But then the next set of columns or rows there show that you're getting transfers in and you're getting interest income, which you have a large cash position right now, but a lot of it's tied up in capital projects. When you spend that, you may not get as good of an interest rate, or not interest rate, but as much interest income from it. And so there's other things keeping it afloat or helping it that are not merely operating income-wise. And so just looking at it, next year I wouldn't be surprised if you guys decided to make a transfer from the general fund over. Otherwise, I predict possibly a deficit, but I haven't looked at y'all's financial statements. So as far as raising the rates, there's only, as you guys have said, so many things you can do in order to combat, the different capital projects. The rate study does what I can't. It knows your needs, your capital project needs, and it knows how many revenues you're going to get. And so they say it better than I can, but I would trust what they tell you. Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. Well, if you guys have any other questions, please let me know.
I will be, what did you say the fine will be?
Yeah, so we just have to tie up a couple loose ends with signing, just journal entries, rep letter, but as soon as those are done, we have everything we need on our end as far as documentation, and so we'll be able to finalize it as soon as that happens.
outside these, our water system and the debt on that, were there any other concerns you found?
I think the accounting-wise, the handling of debt is done very well at the city. Usually I have, for the city this size, a lot of adjustments regarding debt. And so I think because I didn't, and Mr. Neese does a good job of that, it at least gives you an accurate picture of y'all's debt and what you're having to pay. But no, we didn't find any other major significant issues. But in the back of your report, which I don't usually go over in a public meeting because it's addressed to y'all, the council, in the back of your report is the governance letter. It should be loose leaf, so if you dangled it, it should fall out. And then the last page or two of that is where we put any findings. I think we had like 3 or 4 suggestions, but no significant deficiencies or anything of that nature. Thank you.
Cool.
I'll take yours.
Okay, yeah, I'll take it. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it.
Very good presentation. Much appreciated. Okay. Okay, all right, we're still on 9. Do we have a motion?
Do we need to accept this?
That's what I'm kind of wondering. It's a draft.
Because it's not final.
We don't have the
I
final.
was going to ask Tom. This is a draft. We don't accept drafts, do we?
No, you don't accept that.
Okay, so that,
Just no action.
so no action can be taken. Gotcha. All right, no action can be taken on agenda number 9. It will be taken up at a further meeting. Agenda item number 10. Consider and act upon adopting an ordinance to reduce the speed limit on IH-35 for TxDOT work on the Chicago Creek Bridge project. David, please brief.
Yes, we had, I don't know if you remember now, we had Ms. Frances Marseco come in. She's a TxDOT area engineer, and she mentioned about construction being conducted on the Chicago Bridge. Actually, they're going to rebuild it, rebuild a whole new one. So as a result, traffic will be reduced, the speed will be reduced for the safety of the pedestrians as well as other workers there. And she's asked the city to craft an ordinance to say such. She's been talking to Tom, and I'll let you take it from here, Tom, about what it's all about.
Yes, this ordinance reduces the speed on IH-35 down from 75 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour in the construction zone for this project, which is the Chicago Creek Bridge project. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I had a lot of discussions with TxDOT about this. We've never done this before. It's always been my position that we don't have jurisdiction over any state highway, but they said that they wanted it, and I said that'll get the project going. Well, that's what we'll do. And I'm telling the council, as far as our police department enforcing this, I hope that they don't catch anybody out there. They're never out on the interstate anyway, so I think that we're going to be okay. And then we received an email this morning that they want us to send in an email saying that we're not going to do this again, ever. We're not going to be setting speed limits on state highways. So, I mean, we haven't done it in the past and want to do it now because I think they're behind the 8 ball getting the project started. And if we had sent a letter or an email to them, they would have had to come to the commission, and the commission would have had to reduce the speed limit. But they want to get the construction project started, so they asked us to do this ordinance, and that's why we did it.
One time only.
One time only.
Sounds good to me.
I would only like to see one edit on this, that 2 years for duration of project or something to valid this, that it ceases to be whenever the project over.
Well, yes, just during the construction project, that's what it is, just a construction project. And she told me that the construction project was going to be a little under a year.
It's 318 days. specific, unless weather or something. But that's what's on the contract.
No, we never have rain, we don't have to worry about that.
I'll go ahead and suggest we adopt an ordinance to reduce the speed limit on IH 35 for Chicon, is it Chicon or Chicon?
Either one.
Chicon, okay. Creek Bridge project for the duration of the construction project.
All right, we have a motion from Debbie to adopt an ordinance to reduce the speed limit on IH 35 on the Chicon Creek Bridge project until the duration of the project is, for the duration of the project. So we have a second from Ray. Anything further? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 11. Consider an act upon authorizing City Administrator David Jordan to set up new bank accounts for Series 2025A and 2025B, which will be for the lead and copper funds. David?
This is what the mayor said. We requested permission to set up a bank account specifically for these. We go to closing tomorrow on this 11.5 million total loan, and we need someone to put the funds separate from the other loans and accounts.
I make a motion that we authorize City Administrator David Jordan to set up a new bank account for Series 2025A and 2025B projects.
All right, we have a motion from Josh to authorize City Administrator David Jordan to set up the new bank accounts with regards to lead and copper funds. All in favor? No, second from Debbie. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Also, everybody, before I forget, the ordinance number on the agenda item number 10 is 4-25. 4-25. Okay, agenda item number 12 would need to be delayed at this time. The request by Dustin's going to require a replatting and what have you of his plans, and then it'll go back before the P&C board. But they're in general agreement on what to do. He just has to make it official and formal. Do we need a motion to skip that?
I make a motion we table it, agenda item number 12.
Close enough. Okay, we have a motion from Josh to table agenda item number 12.
I'll second it.
I have a second from Jeff. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Okay. All right, this is, I assume, for discussion only at this time. Agenda item number 13, consider and act upon discounted impact fees for new builds of 25% for whole home gray water systems and 25% for rainwater capture greater than 20,000 gallons. Josh, your item, please.
So I'm not sure how effective rainwater catchment is because of how little rain we get, but something to give folks the motivation to be more water savvy, and especially encouraging our new builds to implement gray water and heck, new composting toilets, more power to them. Whatever we can do to reduce the amount of impact on our water facilities and our wastewater treatment for new folks coming in and building houses, I think would be amazing.
Well, I think obviously it's definitely worth looking into. I have no problem with anything we can do to encourage water conservation. Plus, they should have an incentive to do so on their end. So, but I would have no clue in knowing what we can actually do as far as a discount, like in a way of budget and all that.
Well, this is just, the specific one's looking at impact fee only.
Okay.
So that's just the cost of, if you want to build a house and connect to city water and sewer, we charge you an impact fee when you're building.
Okay.
Actually, the city of Devine currently does not have an impact fee.
We should get one.
See, they get a discount off of nothing.
You're right, the city of Devine should have one, but at the current moment, we do not have one.
I
I think at this current
I
time,
think we discouraged it.
yeah, I wouldn't bring it up at this point in time, after tonight.
Now, the fact that we need to have like more houses built,
That's why we didn't want to
yeah.
put it on,
And
because
then-
we were trying to encourage people to build.
the problem there is that it's not a bad idea. The problem is these builders are doing everything they can to cut the cost because it's already, the prices of lumber and everything else have gotten so high that the price per square foot is out of control, and it's affordability. So that would be the biggest barrier. I mean, even getting a builder to sometimes, like, they'll cheap out on fixtures or whatever they need to do, to cut the cost. So I guess if they don't have a fee, then
P&Z.
What's the way to encourage new builds to implement at least gray water?
They were given, I think, 6-month extension.
Thought it was
or something like that.
well,
If I could say.
I definitely,
Trying to contact
I mean, I'm probably
Steve,
skipping ahead.
I responded.
I'm in favor of encouraging them to use more xeriscape, particularly in their front yards.
That's on the next,
But I'm jumping ahead there. I don't know that we can, the rain catchment systems tend to be a little pricey. And having looked into that myself, and my brother-in-law has a pretty good one, but you can lay out some pretty good money for one of those. It's a good thing to have, particularly if you have a metal roof. That's kind of necessary. It's better than trying to do it with a composite shingle. But again, that's upping the cost of construction. So I'm not trying to be a naysayer. I'm just saying I don't know if that will work.
all right. Do we have any motions on this item? Okay. And is that item, no action taken? Agenda item 14, very similar. Consider and act upon the base rate discount of 25% for whole yard xeriscape. The definition of xeriscape to be determined by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Hey, Josh, once again.
So objective here, encourage folks financially instead of penalties and whatnot. Because no one's really realistically going to drive around and get after people for watering their lawn at 4 o'clock in the morning or 7 days a week. But if we can give them an opportunity to reduce the amount of water they use by giving a financial incentive for xeriscaping, I don't know about that. I think that would be a great reduction in the stress we put on our water system. I don't know. The base rate seems like an easy enough one because that's a fixed fee. You're still paying the same amount per gallon. And it would also incentivize folks to make the front yards more presentable instead of just don't use water. At least make it look nice, throw some rocks down. It does increase the ambient temperature 1 or 2 degrees.
That would make good sense if it just applies to the base rate, because water use is water use regardless.
It's like El Paso. Go to El Paso, front yard, nothing but rocks. Ain't no grass.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't have a problem with this. It's more of a matter of, like, right now we're in a position of, like, just trying to break even with what we have. I'm looking into some of the xeriscaping in my own front yard, and what I'm running into there is you find out that that's also a lot more pricey than you think it is.
Oh, it sure is.
And so, again, just like we had the lady asking us about people on fixed incomes and the older people, they'll never, I only feel like that's going to reach the people who can afford it, which is frankly not a high percentage of our population. And they're really the ones that probably don't need the discount off their base rate. So, I mean, I wish we had something that we could do more for those people on fixed incomes, and that would be great. At this point, though, I don't see that we can afford discounting anything.
Just on Newfield, right? We want to do that just for Newfield or that retro?
So that would be for anybody. And to Joe's point there, that's exactly my thought process. We have one demographic that votes a lot. Those folks are on that golf course. We have one demographic that uses a significant amount of water. Those folks are on that golf course. And so those folks on the golf course are the ones who can't afford to do xeriscaping, and they can have something say, all right, I got water go down a little bit by zero scaping.
So that helps the District 5 council person, but it doesn't help me in District 3 because none of my people, well, some of them, but you know, but then they're going to be mad because they think, well, they're getting it, how do they get a discount? Well, sure, everybody'd love to spend 15 grand on their front yard, you know what I'm saying? Like,
For my yard, I did look into it.
Yes.
And it was going to be between 8 and 10.
Yeah,
Depending on what kind of rock I want, or, you know.
exactly.
So, okay, 8 and 10. It costs between 8 and 10 to put a well in. And then
Oh, no.
Yes, you can. I looked
$8,000
it
to
up.
$10,000 for a well?
At my house, not at
Oh,
20.
last time I checked, it was closer to 20.
No, okay. I'm sorry, but I did my own research.
I understand.
And it's gonna be around 10 grand at my house
Oh.
to do a well. So, 8 or 10 grand to put xeriscape in, or 10 to put in a well, and I can water all I want. So,
Well, you still have electric on
but
your
do I
phone.
have 10 grand? There's the,
That's the
you know,
problem.
I don't have 10 grand, and so you can't say people in District 5 around the golf course can afford to do it, because I live by the golf course, and I can't.
Yeah, but you're not on the golf, no, I'm joking.
So I'm a block off, excuse me. But the thing is it's just the fact that no matter what we do, even if you give them 25% discount, it doesn't take the cost of what it costs them to get there.
Well, my point is, what is that going to save them, $10 a month? So it's
Well, okay, if they put in xeriscape, it will help on their rates as they get into the higher water
right.
usage.
But I guess the other point there is that, you know, the water tiers are supposed to already be an incentive. And I think they are. I think people are really starting to pay attention to that. I hope. And if they haven't already, I bet you they're going to start
I
paying
don't think they
attention.
realize that we're cheers.
Yeah, I think that's something we need to like probably republish in the paper.
Well,
or something.
the other thing too, okay, this isn't going to stop here, the water rates.
No.
You know, and I'm telling you, man, this entire state, okay, if you go to the ARS meetings and you hear these people talk about putting water in a bubble to save for future and all this and that, and the East Medina water system, well, that's, actually it is a solid method, as a matter of fact. I mean, like East Medina is going nuts over there, right? Yancey water supply, it's just exploding and all that, and it's going to happen everywhere. And then San Antonio will be here. Okay, we'll talk about the Carrizo Aquifer right now. Okay, I guarantee you they're going to invade that aquifer even more than they have already. Okay, right? Things like that. So it's never going to go down.
I guess my other question about, well, the other issue when you get into something like landscaping, it becomes very subjective. So I know you said like P&Z would decide it, but I feel like that becomes a very subjective opinion.
That's true.
So I worry in that case, it's like, well, you're going to have a little bit of the good old boy. You know, Bubba does, that's fine, that's good. You know, you get the guy that hadn't lived here very long, it's like, yeah, that's not going to count, you got to have this and that. I mean, anytime you get into subjectivity, it creates like animosity. I hate to say that.
Well, the question
but,
would be, okay, if I spray my yard with Roundup, all right, is brown dirt xeriscape?
Yeah, I already have mine too. My front yard's like good. All right.
I was watering the weeds the other day. They look green.
As long as they're green. You cut them down, they look like a lawn.
Well, I tell you what, it's still something to think about.
It is.
I mean, and you know, to me, they should do it because it benefits them, especially when you get into the high water usage. But then again, if those people, okay, like some of the folks up at the golf course that have, it's not city water already, you know. So they won't care until the state, you know, there's going to come a time, okay, when the state, right, and all the water authorities come in and start applying the same thing to wells, because they're pulling it out of the ground just like we are. And that's not too far in the future, I guarantee you.
I worry about
just because you got a well doesn't give you carte blanche to take all the water you want. I guarantee you it's going to happen.
Hey, you got all the local lakes within 100 miles around here, they're going dry.
Yeah. So, okay. Any motions on 14? All right. Okay. Into that
All great
I
idea.
think we've effectively covered 15 throughout this discussion as well.
I think so. Okay, no action taken on agenda item number 14. I still have to read this one. Agenda item 15, consider and act upon discount of water connection fee of 25% for water catchment greater than 40,000 gallons. That's a lot of water.
So the reason I was thinking of start with a higher amount, you can always reduce it, you can increase it.
Yeah.
So start with something that is extremely high, and I mean, sure, I've got a 250-gallon tank sitting out back. I got a water catchment.
That's some huge tanks right there.
Oh, they're gigantic, yeah, you have to do subterranean.
In the ground.
Yep.
That's like, even 5,000 is a big tank.
Right. But I mean, all this to say, how do we get people thinking?
No, I agree.
How do we use less
How do we do
water
it? Yeah.
and put less pressure on our system?
Yeah.
Well, I got a feeling water bills are going to do that because the sewer rates are attached to that also and such. So I know I'm thinking about it,
Well, we've thought about a water catchment system too. Could we put it on that new metal roof and new gutters? And it'd be like, I started looking at my brother-in-law's. It's a good thing. I mean, you just need some tanks and then hook a hose up to it and one more source of water. And actually, you don't even need rain. I'm amazed at what my brother-in-law gets just off of condensation.
Really? No kidding. Wow, that's interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Any motions on 15? All right. Moving on. No action taken on agenda item 15. Agenda item 16, investment quarterly report by our city accountant. Hang on, let me punch that up here. I see the interest rate has dropped on the Lone Star pool.
Still higher than it was when it was in the other bank.
Oh, true, yes.
Is this item 16?
Yeah, it's on my, it says final agenda items.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday's due, we'll send out Friday.
The only thing is, can I still put in a request that some of these last minute items, if we could get them a little sooner? It's like,
That's why they're last minute.
I know, but man, it sure makes it hard to ask questions because you're getting like zero time to look at it.
All right, can I address that, please? Sometimes we're at I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to get it pushed out as soon as possible, but sometimes we're at the mercy, even though we give people a deadline, like our final audit report draft today came out at like this afternoon. Mr. Culpepper with his update on his salary survey came out this afternoon and so forth. So I'm trying to push them, trying to get them a deadline ahead of our deadline to get it pushed out. So I hear you and I understand we're trying to get it pushed out as quick as possible. I don't want to release it right at the same time when y'all trying to have the meeting and have to try to digest everything without having time to process it. So duly noted.
Okay, question. I think this has been mentioned before. I just want to, okay, the gas system sale, it's going to mature in June. Okay, so we got a CD at the Security State Bank for $425,000.
That's what's going to Lone Star. We already voted on that.
Okay, I knew it was in there somewhere. They were going to move it over. Correct?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then that's pretty much it for me. I knew we had done something with that and so forth. We also have the other CDs too. Correct? It was all three of them. Were we going to move the $25,000 ones?
We didn't discuss that. We only discussed the
424.
gas system.
Okay. And TXS Bank, okay, it's they're paying 4%, but it's for 24 months. Huh.
It's not that much different now.
Yeah, but it's for 24 months. The other is 12 months. But then again, it could go down. Okay.
Yeah, TXN is, I don't know about that.
All right. Any comments? Okay. No questions? All right. That concludes agenda item 16. Agenda item 17, informational items. Perhaps an update on the street paving?
Yes, I put informational item right inside your respective desks. Anyway, Malone and Zigzag being prepared. They're rolling the base right now. April the 22nd, they're supposed to put the asphalt down on April 22nd, barring any unforeseen events.
Is that on Zigzag? You said?
Zigzag and Malone.
Oh, they're both gonna get,
Right.
Well, they're going to start on April 22nd, so hopefully they'll wrap that up in a few days because the
I had somebody ask me a question that I didn't know how to answer on that, on the street thing. Do we have an inspector? Is an inspector come and, okay, so Malone right now, they've got it, it's dirt right now.
Yes.
Do they come in and inspect like at that point, and then they do something, they come inspect that, and then they do something else? I know there's different levels of stuff they do.
Right.
But is there an inspection done at each level, or
It's around we have a final walkthrough, and that's all we do is at the end. We're out there looking at what they're doing. I have some of the street crew or some of the water department, they stop by, throughout the day to see how they're doing, how much they put
so we
down.
inspected at the end
Yes, we have a final walkthrough. JR comes down and
before they put the pavement on?
no. But we're there to watch them to see what they're doing. But no, we
So
don't have
the answer is going to be no.
no.
yeah, but you're seeing what's being dug down and you're seeing what's being replaced.
Yes,
So
we see how much they dug down, how much they put, and how much they're going to have left for the 2 inches of asphalt.
right. It seemed like they went down considerably on Zigzag.
Yeah, they went down there 10 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how far down did they go on the other streets like McAnally and Bright? It didn't seem to be as deep.
About 8.
They were about 8 inches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're, okay, good.
That's good.
Because that pavement's only going to be as good as that base.
Yeah, I know Bright was pretty close to almost in place. It was almost a foot.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was pretty deep on Bright.
Okay. All right, well, hopefully they'll get there. They're just a little slower is all. They're pretty slow compared to the other guys. As long as it gets done.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen on Zigzag, we're going to get all these complaints about people speeding now that the road's a lot nicer.
Oh, yeah, it's already started on social media.
Yeah, I know.
So if you're prepared, they're going to come and ask you for some.
They're already asking for no
Well, we're not going
sidewalks
to
and everything else.
I can't go for speed bumps on Zigzag, but perhaps we just get better enforcement of, yeah.
Well, I told Butch, I've already, since they redid Dilly a couple of years ago, Dilly has become the new racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
People aren't going down Coker. They're coming up Dilly and then cutting over to Coker and just using Coker as the last part. Or they're coming down that part of Coker, cutting over to Dilly. I mean, I watch them go by my backyard. They're probably going 45 miles an hour. I'm really not joking. And I've been thinking about suggesting another, there's already there's a couple of intersections. Yeah, we could change a couple of those into four-way stops, like at Washington could be a four-way stop. It would stop that because there's little kids and everything else along there.
Well, that's what happened on Coker. They got all the stop signs right there. So.
And I feel like maybe a couple of there's already the only four-way stop there is down there at Upson. Is it Upson? Upton?
Upson.
Yeah, and that's really the only one, but if there was another one, that would probably cut that. But you ought to see it, especially when people are taking their kids to school in the morning.
Or walking to the baseball park.
Ooh, man, they're it's bad.
Do we need a traffic study? I mean, do we need our PD to do a study to see if we need that, to put a stop sign there?
Well, because when you look at the report, that's one of the things, I look at when we get those reports for the whole month, our entire police force wrote a total of 19 traffic tickets, and that seems to be
really
really
on the street.
really rough. I mean, even for a city. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's really what we're doing.
Okay. I don't think we can go there in information items.
No, I'm just making,
Yeah,
I'm just making an observation. I'm just saying, it's just, we have a lot of speeding going on.
I think we have to take that up at another time.
So I've got a question on item number 11, Devine Fire Department Code Enforcement. What are the actions happening over there? Are we seeing improvement on folks actually getting citations? I see Cisneros Tire Garage.
We got that report from you. I forgot to look at it.
It is.
Right, so to answer your question is yes, there's 24 cases going to court. Excuse me. The 71, I sent y'all an email by the way, it was like a report from the Volunteer Fire Department Code Enforcement. 71 cases total, 24 going to court, 30, whatever the remainder are, they're still active, 36 are still active. So to answer your question, yes, they have 2 more volunteer fire department personnel going to the code enforcement school, which is in Frisco in the next couple of weeks. So that will be a total of 4 that you'll have certified. So slowly but surely, they're going through their process of personnel changes as well. So, but yes, they're active, they're out and making contact with the citizens, trying to correct the person into compliance.
Okay, so on this report, okay, we got this afternoon, right? Okay, we have the case date, so that's when it's going to go to court. Well, wait, it's already in March. What does the case date mean? That's when they make communication, the first communication?
I didn't get that.
Yes.
The case violation, it was 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Detail. Yeah, didn't get that.
Oh, okay, I guess I'm special.
You are special.
Just for the record, I meant to send to everyone, just for the record. Mayor special to someone, I'm sure.
Yeah, put that on there. Yeah, that's why I've been getting blamed for the water rate increase and everything else that goes along with it. Yeah. So, okay, I'll peruse this later. But so technically, on that code compliance, they make their first contact, then they have 10 days to comply, then we can cite them. Then they have another 10 days to comply, and then we can turn it over to our judges. So I can't remember our last meeting, but David and I met with the municipal judge and the attorney, the prosecuting attorney. And as a matter of fact, they had some really good observations from some of the citations that were being turned in, and some recommendations on how to be more effective, because when it got to them, their hands were tied because of the wording or this, that, or evidence presented or and so forth. So I think we're going to improve in that area to where code compliance, the VFD can be more prepared to go to court when the time comes. Right. So, all right. Anything else, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
One more. Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Have we heard from ADP on that email that I sent on the light fixtures, adding new ones instead of, that don't have anything on the telephone poles?
So he gave us a total, you mean the total of how much it would be to replace?
No, he gave us a total to swap the halogen to the LEDs. I sent you an email because he had said it was a different price. If there's no light fixture on that whole street, he would have to go out there and survey to see how much it would cost to put it on there.
Okay, yes. I have to double check with that. I haven't received that answer to that yet.
Yeah.
I'll get you.
And we can come out and check.
Okay.
So if y'all got any streets that don't have no lights, right now it's a good time to email them.
I know Mr. Ray asked about the trailer on transportation. I forgot. It looks like we're going to have to maybe approach it at a different angle regarding back taxes and so forth, to be able to get to the person and address it. Same thing with Mr. Cisneros' property. We've been in contact with Tom. That particular property is under a trust, so there's a lot of people's name on it. So as a result, and this there are some tax issues, so we're going to hit it at that angle and notify all the owners and let them know the violation. And address it that way. So hopefully somebody in that family can put pressure on the resident and we can correct this situation.
Item number 12, the renovation of the soccer field complex. What's going on there?
I think they've been out there working on it. I saw Pablo not too long ago. He said they already started. Is that correct?
No, I haven't seen Pablo out there.
Oh, he told me he was lining people up and getting a good response. And
Oh, I haven't seen him out there. I mean, the guys have, they haven't been out there since I think last week, but
oh, okay.
I think, David, you tried to get in contact with him.
Yes, I spoke to Mr. Carmona today. He does have his plumbers ready to come in. He mentioned the house that's actually over near the soccer field. It's like 50 yards or whatever. The other house that the city owned, which is on Webb, is in better condition and is a lot easier to go in and repair regarding plumbing and so forth, so that they can use that as bathrooms or concession stand or a storage area for the particular sport.
Cool.
City staff has been out there. They filled a whole 40-ton container of garbage. They have to continue to be out there to remove garbage and litter and tree stumps and all that other kind of stuff, and still trying to smooth the land down a little bit. So that's where we are with that.
Thank you. Tell me about item 16, meeting for CAVA/co-pilot regarding external security at City Hall.
Right, we're looking at external security measures, which I can't say online, for City Hall to ensure that the City Hall staff property are more secure. Like access controls, cameras, etc.
Can I ask also about the meeting regarding the best that wants to come to town?
Right, so battery electronic storage system, I don't know if you remember, they gave a briefing a few months ago. They came back again and wanted to talk. All the questions that y'all had submitted, as well as the fire department had submitted, they had answers to those and was interested in going to the Planning and Zoning Commission to number one topic. First of all is zoning for that particular area, whether it's going to be allowed to be changed or not before they proceed. So anyway, they presented to us what they had, gave the answers to the fire department regarding the majority of the fire department, and then we're going to meet again they have not specifically identified what vendor they're going to go with for what product they want to put on the ground. So we're trying to refine all that process, and then my recommendation to them and to the council is going to be to have a public hearing prior to anything like this being.
I guess my biggest concern is still the location, because as it's been shown in the research, that these facilities that are going in, if they do catch on fire, they are usually a long-term fire, and there are dangerous chemicals that do come out in the air. And so, where it's at, where it's proposed, could eventually, there's already residential very close by, but there's also commercial. I would hate to see them have to evacuate places like Walmart or whatever other developments may go behind them, because of that facility. It just seems like they're going in a very vulnerable spot. We're trying to develop that area commercially and everything else, and it's like, plop this thing in there, and it could stay safe for a very long time, but if something does happen, and my information comes from a superintendent up in the Hill Country who's been doing a lot of research on this, because obviously they're trying to do the same thing in Kerr County. And it's kind of scary, actually. They don't want these things anywhere near schools at all, because of the evacuations that have to take place and things like that. But there's a lot to this, and I'm just glad that we're taking it slowly. That's why I just wanted to hear an update. I just wish that they were going a little farther out, away from residential and commercial development. That's all.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Agenda item 18. I'll take a motion.
I move that we adjourn this glorious meeting.
All right. We have a motion from Jeff to adjourn. Second by Michael. All in favor? All right. Good work, everybody. Good work as always.
Can you sign these, please, before you go?
Gotcha.
For 9 o'clock.